12 March 1945, Koblenz. For the doomed Germans west of the Rhine River, the wolves are scratching at the door. The sound is distinctly similar to that of American tank engines, and it's coming from every direction. General Dwight Eisenhower, commander of the Allied forces, knows the Rhine is the last major barrier between his armies and Der Führer's doorstep. As he prepares to send his troops across, he is perplexed by the deployment of enemy forces. Instead of pulling back to the east side of the river, where they might make a more formidable defense against the Allied advance, the Germans hold stubbornly to their emplacements west of the river. Whatever their reasons, Ike is determined to exploit their stupidity. Waffen-SS General Paul Heuser, the man charged with defending the area, would agree with Eisenhower's assessment, but there is little he can do about it. He has pleaded with Field Marshal Gerd von Rundstedt to be allowed to withdraw and defend the far bank of the Rhine, but to no avail. Retreat, von Rundstedt tells him, is not allowed. Heuser is resigned to his fate. He knows Rundstedt is merely parroting Hitler's insane edict, but that won't make it any easier for him to hold the line against the American 3rd and 7th Armies. He is all too aware his position is weak, and he knows the Allies know it too. General George Patton sees the German line has been stretched to the breaking point and concludes he can plow through it immediately. To the south, General Alexander Patch takes a more cautious approach, choosing to wait for more supplies and better integration of his troops. Both Patton and his direct superior Omar Bradley are perfectly happy to get the Third Army off to a head start. Both are chafing to begin clearing the Germans from the region, and both have their eyes on the Rhine. They hope to get across it before their rival, Field Marshal Bernard Montgomery, launches his assault to the north. Despite the depleted state of the German army, the road to the Rhine is forbidding. Scrambling German units have already reduced muddy roadways to slop, and the steep, wooded hills have restricted Patton to narrow fronts. The scattered pockets of enemy troops fight desperately, but ultimately can offer only token resistance as Patton's men throw down pontoon bridges on the Moselle River near Koblenz. The Third Army's 12 Corps rumbles southward to the Nahe River, as 20 Corps smashes through the Siegfried Line and swings eastward. For a few days, the weather clears, allowing Allied fighter bombers to fill the spring skies with ordnance, pounding the Germans from above while the land assault intensifies. By the time the 7th Army begins its thrust from the south on 15 March, the Wehrmacht is battered and on the run. The enemy's problem is there is nowhere to run. The logical path across the Rhine is forbidden. The Germans are trapped. The roads are littered with their dead and with smoldering heaps of metal, and still the U.S. Army Air Corps rains fire and death on them from above, unchecked. By now, Hitler has removed Rundstedt as Western Front commander and appointed Field Marshal Albert Kesselring. Kesselring's first general order to his field commanders drips with hidden meaning. They are to hold their positions, he says, but they must avoid encirclement. Of course, the only way for them to avoid encirclement is to run like hell. The very same day, 17 March, Ike meets with his generals and gives Patton the go-ahead to push his army as fast as it will go, squeezing the Germans against the approaching 7th Army. The Third Army moves through the German countryside like a green tornado, crushing everything in its path. Within days, most of the German forces still west of the Rhine are encircled and annihilated. The Third Army alone captures or kills 113,000 enemy soldiers. According to Allied estimates, the two German armies defending the Rhine have lost 75 to 80% of their infantry. Patton is now on the west bank of the Great River, dipping his toes in the water, as his ally to the north, Field Marshal Montgomery, prepares to leap across.